Okay, so here we go. To understand how I got here, you need to learn the backstory of what started me to, or jump started me to make such an amazing helmet. So, back in 2020, when I had first seen The Mandalorian, I was like, wow, that's really cool. Those were in the Clone Wars, but they look so much better in live action, especially not just like Boba Fett, but like an actual Mandalorian. Well, that was a firework. The actual Mandalorian. So here is what my first helmet I made looks like. Yeah, it's not good. Not good compared to this. But I made it off of my Ender 3 V2 3D printer, and it was the first ever thing I actually 3D printed. Well, first big thing I ever 3D printed. Sadly, my printer is broken right now, but it will be fixed, and I will be continuing the armor for this helmet, and then there will be a probably 10-part series for that, depending on, or like per piece of armor will be the series. So basically, this one was made by, if you can see the print lines, seam lines, because it was so hard to line up this helmet. So basically it printed out in, well, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different pieces. So yeah, and then a big problem with this helmet was it is too small for my head, so it's like a super tight squeeze, and then pulling it off is like a pain in the butt. So basically, I was thinking about it for a few months. I had this nice Mandalorian suit or undersuit that I have, and basically I just decided I need to re-go at this helmet. And you must be like really thinking like, how did you go from that to this? And I'll explain right now. So here's my box of fun things I used to create this helmet, and I'm gonna go through and tell you what everything did to play a part in this bad boy. So to understand that all, I'm gonna show you basically what all I used and basically everything that was put to action during this process. Now, here we go. So, let's just grab all of this stuff out. There's a lot in here, but it all played a very big role. Here we go, right here. Okay, so basically, I started off with a fiberglass resin casted helmet from a guy called Dragonborn Jedi, I think, on Etsy. I don't really remember if that was the name, but I think it was. I bought it for about $180 for this rough, like, looking thing, and if you can kind of see, it was like a dull gray. There you go. It was like a grayish color. So basically, what I started off with was I got the helmet, and I took it down with some, I think this is 2000 grit sandpaper. No, this is 400. So I used some 400 grit sandpaper to start off, and I, went along for hours sanding it. I used a one of these bad boys off the back of a sponge because they help with holding it down when you're sanding. And then I used one of these size strips to make little lines pop, get into those kind of lines, get into there, because it's thin little strip of sandpaper. Then I used this one, which is just another thin strip, to get into there because I could get it smaller because it was a smaller chunk. And then so on and so forth, just kept using little strips to get places. Then I was using 1500 after the 400, which was probably not the smartest. I should have went like 400, 600, 1000, then 1500, but this is what I had laying around. And the helmet looks great now, so can't really complain. Then I used 1500 for about I think it's 2 days of sanding for this bad boy with 1500. 400 I think was 2 days of sanding as well. And then after I got this thing sanded smooth, I used this stuff, Bondo glazing and spot putty. This is a what do I call it, a biatch to work with, because it sucks to work with. It is, well, actually, it's actually not that bad to work with it, but it does definitely goes to surgical gloves quickly. That's why I hated it the most, because I was just wasting a ton of gloves, and you know, they're not too expensive, but still it was not fun to just waste gloves. So I did Bondo, and then I used 150, this nice orange one right here, and then scuffed over all the Bondo. Then I used 400 again, and then my 1500 right here to kind of smooth out the spots. And then after that, hi kitty, after that, I went ahead and put on my first coat of filler primer. But I made sure the whole time to be wearing this respirator mask. And yeah, it saved me from lung cancer. So now we're gonna get into basically the paints I use. So for my primer, wait, where'd it go? I think I had it here. Okay. I don't think this is the primer I used, actually. This isn't the primer I used. But, okay, I used Rust-Oleum primer. Wait, everyone's seen it. And then I went over it with this Rust-Oleum black primer after I used the filler primer. I had Rust-Oleum filler primer. Then I went over it with this black 2X Rust-Oleum paint and primer. Sanded that off. Wet sanded that off, actually. Then I went over with filler primer. And then I did... and then I sanded that, and I went back over it with more filler primer. So it was a lengthy process, but it definitely paid off. Another thing about the Bondo, though, since we're not quite to the big painting part yet, was you need these little tools, because the Bondo would get into there, so I'd have to scrape it out. But it was great to have this little tool from, I don't know what this is, but it's General, I think it's, yeah, the General. I don't know what brand that is, but probably General, obviously. Okay, so then here's where the big part of this helmet comes in. I bought this for 40 bucks at Home Depot, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this sucked. This is the worst paint gun ever. Husky, yeah, they sucked making this gun. It just sucks. I lost about $160, or about $100 actually, in fancy paint, which we'll get into what fancy paint later. You might have even saw, if you know what you're looking for, you might have seen by the red cap what it is, but yeah. So this lost me about probably $80 to $100 in fancy paint, and that was very angering for me because I spent lots of money on fancy paint. So yeah, so this thing was great, but it has a lot of flaws that, I don't know if it was just me not really knowing how to use one, or my dad knowing how to use one, because I don't know if he does either, because we both had the same experiences, or if it's just a very shoddy product. Now, but it worked good enough, and we got this out of it. So now, what we used to make the fancy paint show was Rust-Oleum Protective Enamel Gloss Black paint. If you can see, it says Gloss Black up there. And this stuff is really nice. It's super thick, so we had to thin it out with paint thinner quite a bit. But it went on nice, and it stayed on nice. The only problem with the fancy paint was that I forgot to hit it right here, but now it's already weathered, so I'm just going to not worry about it, because you can barely tell if you're not really worrying about it, but there's a little spot right there that I'd like to touch up at some point with fancy paint, once I get like a detail airbrush, but that'll be in a couple of years, so yeah. And then here's the fancy paint. Okay, I'm gonna reveal it in 3, 2, 1. It is a Lumiluster, and if you know anything about the Mandalorian, and his helmet, obviously, and his armor, if you like the Beskar one, which I particularly don't, you know that it was originally painted with Illumoluster, which is the actual paint that they used in the show. So basically, once I figured that out, I'm like, I want to make one helmet and one helmet only and have it be the helmet I have for the rest of my life. So I just went ahead and I paid $220 for this stuff. For this little freaking 8-ounce thing of paint. It's not worth it, but it's way worth it. Because once you put the gloss black on and you put the Illumoluster on, doesn't it just, it looks perfect. It's perfectly screen accurate. Because there's no way it couldn't be. And this stuff is basically like, what's it called? Acetone with metal in it. That's basically what I have, like, figured out about it. Because when you spray it on, it takes 1 second to dry. And then it's like, and it's dry and it's chrome. But if you don't have a glossy black surface under it, it won't show up. It'll just look like clear, like acetone. I would show you what this stuff looks like, but I don't want to open it in my house because, yeah. Oh, my cat knocked my lamp off. Great. But I don't want to open it in my house, so, yeah, because it's very toxic, I guess, but I don't really care. So, then, once I had done the Illumoluster painting, I went ahead and weathered the thing. So I used a mixture of brown, just plain brown, orange, and I think it was black paint. So I went with black paint a little bit up in here. You know, that's actually what that is, just black paint. And look at it, it's just black paint. Never mind, not gonna touch it up. But that's just black paint, and then those look like they're not painted, but I just put black paint in them because I thought it looked cool, and I still do. Then I went up and took a chip brush and I chipped along here and gave it a nice rust line so it looked screen accurate. Obviously that's what I was trying to do. And I carried along the top with that up all the way into the back, and then I rusted out that, which looks really good. And then rusted along those, back behind the ears, kind of rusty. And then in the cheeks, kind of rusty, dirty, mud kind of look. And then you know, around the ears, I have yet to color these in black because I'm scared. I might just leave them silver and have that be the one inaccurate thing about it. And then, yeah, so that's the painting of it. Now let's go on to the inside. So I bought these airsoft helmet pads on Amazon. I think they were $10. And I got a pack, and it was pretty great because it came with these ones, these bigger squares. I don't know if you can see it very well. And then this circular pad, which is obviously the top, and then it came with like 6 of these ones, but the other 3 fell out, so I'm going to put those back in tonight after the video. And then I have makeshift, like, crappily put a visor in for now, because this is not going to be the final visor. There will be another one in about, whenever I make the full video of the full suit of armor when it's complete, that's when I'll buy the thing. But for now, that'll have to work because I don't want to buy it right now. Not because I want to save money, but it's just because, you know, this is the way, so I'm not going to worry about it really. But it fits really good on my head. It doesn't look disproportionate, and it's really good quality, and it's nice to have a fiberglass resin helmet, because if it was some 3D printed helmet, I wouldn't have put $200 and something paint on it, you know. So that's why this helmet looks so good. And there's basically the explanation of what this helmet is. So now you know that I didn't just buy the helmet from someone, I made it myself, and I hope that you guys think it's as cool as I do. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment your thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns on this helmet. And basically, I hope this video gets to 100 views and maybe 100 likes. And yeah, that'd be great. And I hope that some of you subscribe, because I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this month, which would be amazing, because at 100 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a special building event where, like, not a giveaway, but it's just going to be me doing a special 100 subscribers build. So I'll have a really cool set to build for that awesome day. But when it gets to 1,000 subscribers, if I do, that'll be a giveaway day, and I'll probably be building something UCS. So stay tuned for that. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace out and take care.